Now that your background has dried, we are going to create our cactus. And the cactus are going to be mostly in tones of green. So you're going to add some yellow to the green, some blue to the green, maybe some white, but it's mostly going to be tones of green. So I'm going to take my round brush and I'm just going to lay out my cactus with one color so that I can go in and paint them all for fun. So I've got my round brush with some green paint on it, and I'm going to start with the big bad boy in the middle. And he is going to be a grouping of 4 to 5 ovals stacked on top of each other. So I'm going to just create ovals. And these can be ovalish. You are creating an organic thing, and so the ovals don't have to be perfect. Like I said, that you want to do 4, maybe 5 ovals on top of each other, and they can lean a little bit because that's funny. Look at that, 5 ovals on top of each other. Now, right now, this picture looks ridiculous. I get that. Don't worry. Trust me. My next one we are going to create is an extremely tall oval that gets a little bit skinnier at the bottom. Looks like one of those cucumbers you get in that Misfit vegetable box. He wasn't quite pretty enough to make the cut for the grocery store. And over here, we are going to create our Saratoga, which is a tall cactus. And this guy has arms on him. So I've got my oval right here, and then his arms are going to be round ovals that just kind of come into the body. And on these, even these little guys right here can have little ones off of them. So maybe this is the mama and this is the baby, and then there's their little pet that they got for Christmas that you wish they wouldn't have gotten, but you and your spouse had a mislapse in judgment. You guys got a pet. We have 2 of those. We have 2 guinea pigs. We do love our guinea pigs, but there are days we question our choices as parents, which I'm sure we're not the only ones. So now I've got my 3 big guys. We're going to move on to some smaller cactus. Now some of these are going to overlap in front of other ones, and that's why we're laying all of them out first so that we know who's going to overlap and who's not. Next to my Saratoga, I'm going to create a nice big bellied cactus with a little circle on top. And then right next to him, and I'm going to cover up a lot of this guy. Right next to him, I'm going to create another big bellied cactus. But he's going to have some smaller ones stacked on top of each other, going in some funny directions. So I'm putting 3 on this side. And over here, I am going to cover some of this one up. So these are our main cactus. So we've got 5 cactus on there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And these 5 cactus, we're going to paint them different colors, but we are going to add a foreground and some things in the background. But we're going to start over here on the left. I always find it easier to start on the left because I am right-handed, so I move this way. If you are left-handed, you may want to start over here. So on this side over here, I'm going to use my dirty paintbrush with white paint. And when I grab my white paint, I want to grab it from the edge because I don't want to mix up all of my paint. And I'm going to paint this with just white paint. My paintbrush was already wet with green. The edges of this are wet, so I'm going to paint this entire cactus, going around that cactus with white because I want to have a light colored cactus. And I do want this cactus to go all the way to the bottom, so if he's not currently falling off the bottom of the canvas, please drop him off the bottom of the canvas. Make sure those edges are nice and neat. So it'll take you a little bit of time to paint these guys in. goals in life is to go to the Saratoga National Park. So when I paint these beautiful cactus, I think about one day we are going to be out of quarantine and I'm going to be able to travel again. There we go. Now his color does not have to be even throughout. You do not have to go back through and make sure that it's nice and neat. Don't worry about that. My next cactus, this guy right here, I'm gonna wipe my brush off. I'm gonna grab some green paint, just put a glob of green paint in the middle of him. But then I'm gonna paint the rest of him in with yellow. So I just did a glob of green paint. And remember, if your cactus does not currently fall off the canvas, you do want to make sure it hits the ground and falls off. Otherwise, you're going to look really weird having a floating cactus. Although I think magic is amazing, you definitely want to make sure that you have your cactus cut touching the ground. Color him in all the way. Now this next guy right here, the one that has the little spots popping off him, I am just going to paint him regular green. I did not wipe my brush off. I'm just going to go in with that regular green color. Nice dark green cactus here. Clean up all those edges nice and neat. Clean up all these edges. If your paint's really thick, you may want to grab some water on your brush. This green paint that I have is pretty thick. I don't do edits on my videos because I want you guys to see the struggles that I have, because they're probably some of the same struggles you're gonna have at some point. You need to know that it happens to everybody. So I do one take on my videos and call it done. The other reason I do that is because we're currently on quarantine. And if I do too many takes, then I am wasting supplies and then I won't be able to run painting with a purpose. So I try really hard to do one photo take. This cactus right back here, I'm just gonna use green paint with a little bit of white. So I'm gonna put a spot of green and white in each one of these circles because I want it to be light, but I don't want it to be that light. Fill that one in. Make sure that you're not seeing any of your outlines when you're doing this. You know, we made these outlines so we could kind of lay out our plan. We do not want to see any of our outlines in this. So be sure you are covering all those in and make sure you're going nice and neatly around the cactus you already painted in. Again, making sure all those cactus are touching the ground. All right, we have one cactus left. This one, I'm gonna keep my paintbrush with some green on it. I'm gonna put a little bit of green in that guy. Then I'm going to grab blue. I'm gonna grab blue and I'm gonna make a nice tealish blue color. Now, if this blends too much into your background, watch what you can do. At the top of this cactus, you can actually add a little bit of white just to give it a small highlight if it blends into the background too much. So add a little bit of white to it, and that should fix that problem. We don't have any white in our background yet. So adding a little bit of white will lighten that up so it does not blend in, but it all depends on how the tone of your original color was. So now we have our 5 cactus painted in. We want those to dry a little bit before we add our details. So set it in front of a fan, use your handy dandy paper towel, sip on your beverage, talk to your friends, and we'll be back in a couple minutes.